I am finally getting around to recap my Hyrox experience, and I want to do it in two parts. I want to just talk about kind of my, I guess, feeling experience first, and then I want to go into like more technical of just like a new person, whatever, rookie experience going into a competition like this. So this video, I would like to discuss more of just what my overall experience was training for it, why I did it, how I found it, etc. I mentioned in a previous video that, January 2nd of this year, I fractured both my wrists. And prior to that, I won't go back down all the things I've already discussed, but I had gotten into more of this high intensity style training. And when I broke my wrist, obviously that really put a damper in the way that I could work out and what I enjoyed doing. I don't think that I realized until really truly months later how much it affected me emotionally, just to not be able to honestly just get that release, that emotional release that comes with training in that type of way. And so it's kind of like I guess I just didn't really fully comprehend what a bow that this was putting, like this competition was like putting a bow on top of a present that I gave to myself this year. I don't know a better way to explain it. And I also wasn't sure if I believed myself when I said going into this that I was really thinking about, going into it with the intention of only competing with myself, and also going into it as a learning experience. These are the things that I was telling myself all along, and especially the week before, but it's kind of like, am I gaslighting myself right now? Does this do I really believe this? Is this really how I'm going to feel the day of? Is this how I'm going to feel afterwards if I don't perform the way that I want to perform, etc.? And I'm happy to report that absolutely, exactly the message that I told myself all throughout training was exactly how I felt. Now, I definitely felt a little defeated during, because it was just a beast that you can't, I did a lot of preparation, but there's just certain elements that you cannot, you can copy, but I didn't go out and buy all the equipment. I just used what was available to me, and it's different, like training a sled on top of turf or training it with a tank is different than that awful carpet that they use wherever they get it from, and has like a special place in hell or something. It's awful. But anyway, so like I said, I'm not going to go into the technical side of it just yet, but I really just wanted to express, just honestly, I went into it with so much gratitude, and I know I feel a little cheesy or silly almost, because I'm always kind of saying that, but honestly, experiencing what I did, not being able to use your hands, not being able to really use your arms, it's just I am so grateful for what I can do now, that it's almost made me push myself even harder, which may not always be a good thing, just because it's I have two voices in my head, it's one might want to quit because something's hard, and the second voice is you get to do this. You get to do this. This is a freaking gift. And I remember there were a few moments in particular during the race that I was like, who do I think I am signing up for this? Why did I sign up for this? And again, who do I think I am? But honestly, I was like, it doesn't matter. You get to do this. Like that was the second follow-up thought. And I finished, and the first thing I said to my husband was, I need some work. So, I mean, at least I guess I can keep my sense of humor even though I feel like I'm dying out there. But I mean, it was a mentally tough thing, but the other gift that this year has given me has just been the pure realization that I have built some mental grit. I've always had a pretty strong mind, very strong. I've been through a lot in my life, and this was the test, and that's what I like about it. I wasn't sure how I felt because I kind of have a weird relationship with competition. I am not somebody who comes from a majorly athletic background. I did some sports, but I wasn't like consistently involved in one sport. I mean, I played soccer. The only thing I probably did more consistent was ballet. And then I eventually just pretty much went full-fledged into yoga. And as much as I like the physical practice of yoga, I was saying to my husband at one point that I feel like the more that you're able to train with endurance sports, it's like, and I don't know if this is everyone's experience, but it's like for me, I kind of found this correlation directly between, like, I call it finding my no. And I think that it's like I'm somebody who used to say yes to everything. I had terrible boundaries. I didn't understand how I would try to set boundaries and people wouldn't listen. And it was because like I didn't have a firm no. And I love this beautiful thing that I heard that was like you have to find or like take more vitamin in, which is vitamin no. And that's now I'm like losing his name. He just is like the beast of marathons. But anyway, so sorry for misquoting and not being able to find your name. I'll put it in the discussion part. But anyway, it's just, and also another thing that like really rang through this past year was, Mel Robbins I saw this video really early on, and she literally just says point blank, no one is coming. And there was like this really pregnant pause after her saying that. And it's like, I was like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I needed to hear. I am the one that's showing up for me. And I proved that to myself day in and day out. Every single day, I showed up no matter how I felt, no matter what was happening, no matter what pain I felt. I mean, because it's like, it's been an emotional roller coaster for me for many different reasons over this past year. And this was the perfect, like, rumination of that. I don't know. Like, it was the perfect close to everything that I've created. And then it also it ignited such a passion in me to really just share my genuine, authentic experience and not to care that I constantly feel like an imposter. And I don't want that to get in the way of me sharing my experience, because maybe it's going to resonate with you. And maybe, there's that quote that's like, one person's story is another person's survival guide. And I've found that so many times. And it happened the week before. I was listening to all these podcasts, and I'm so glad I did that. And I think that's the other thing on a side note, is just realizing how well I actually do know myself. Because as someone who has let other people define me for pretty much my whole life, and looked to other people's definitions to find myself, I am so happy that I no longer need that. I don't. I know who I am. I know what I want to do. I know what I want to accomplish. I have extreme goals, and I am here to make them happen. and I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to let anything get in my way. And that was like, I know this is not even about really Hyrox, but this is what Hyrox and training for Hyrox gave to me. And that's what I think. It doesn't have to be something physical. It's like just doing something hard. It just gives you such a boost of confidence. Like that's what it did for me. And it's like, I I kind of went back and forth on like, how do I want to train for this? Do I want to like buy someone's guide, or do I want to do these workout of the days that they post? And I was like, no, I'm going to go through, because I know that I have I have a mountain to overcome, which is really like a huge injury that I'm trying to rehab while I'm trying to train for this. And so, yeah, there were a lot of elements that I struggled with that if I had been at 100%, like possibly I would have been able to perform better, but I wasn't. I mean, and that's the reality. It's not an excuse. And it's like, I know I'm not someone who makes excuses for myself. And I'm glad that like I had done all these run throughs before. I'm glad I did those. And I think I'm just really happy because it's given me the confidence completing this to finally feel like I can call myself an athlete, because I had like this huge hang up in calling myself that, because I don't know, I've just never felt like I was one or felt like I was capable of it. And to complete it, I don't even care what my time was, to complete it, it just feels like such an accomplishment. And I think that I'm almost glad that I'm like reflecting now rather than like right afterwards, because it's given me that space to digest how much this means on my personal journey. And I have this thing that I'm really trying to go forward in, not trying to compete with other people. Like, obviously it's a competition, but like the beauty of it is like everybody's starting off in smaller groups. And so you have people that are still on from previous times, and then you have people starting while, like, I think it's every 10 minutes. So it's beautiful because it truly does become your race. And I was able to just like be in my head just like I normally would, treat it like any other workout. I mean, obviously not, but you get what I mean. It's like I was able to just go in with the intentions that I set. And some of the podcasts that I had listened to, one in particular was Nick Bear had Sally McRae on. And I've listened to her talk about her experience going into her Cocodona race. And something that she said about that really resonated. And she was like, I'm going in as a student. This race is something that is so, she was just saying it was so out of her element and all these things. And I mean, obviously she beasted it, but I'm not comparing myself to the outcome. It's just the mentality of like, I went in as a student. I went in as like, honestly, being so inspired to even just be in the same place as these incredible women that I was in the same brackets with. This is so freaking hard. And to see these women just beast it out is like, okay, I have work to do, and not in a way that I'm competing with them, but in a way that I want to just like complete this space. I want to show up, and I want to show others that like it does not matter what is going on. If you have something that's super important to you, the most important part that I found for myself was people aren't going to understand what I'm trying to do. No one's ever tried to understand what I'm trying to do. I've always done things off the cuff. I've always done things like followed my own rules, and I've gotten criticism for that. I've gotten negative feedback, whatever. And the difference is I've never been afraid of failing. And I'm fine with failing, because failure is a place that you learn. I don't feel like I failed. I feel like I gained so much. I mean, I didn't fail because I completed it, and that was my main objective. I went in, I'll be completely frank and honest. Like, I went in hoping I was going to be able to finish in an hour and a half, and I did not. I finished in 2 hours. But I also am able to go back and objectively look at where I could have improved, and I'm okay with it. Like, truly, I am so fine with just having the experience of of literally just, I know it's repetitive, but just gaining that inner confidence and strength to stand anywhere and say, I am no longer going to let people make me feel small just because I may not be able to speak all the lingo. I may not be able to know, I don't have the basis of 20 years of knowledge of an athletic background. But what I do have is a realistic approach for the average person, because that's me. And I come from a very weird background, having done, like I said, having done yoga for all of my life, and really let that sink in, that it hasn't been until the last 7 months that I have extremely just plowed forward into this mentality of, I am going to become a beast. I'm going to create a beast. I know there's one inside me, and I want her to be set free. So that's what this race gave me. And I will do another video soon, going through, like, I'll do more a technical breakdown of every element and how I would approach it, well, how I did approach it as a rookie, and how I am approaching my training, because I am also crazy enough that I'm gonna do it again. So stay tuned.